Hello and welcome back to the next session of your International Auditing and Assurance Chapter 1, that is Audit Framework and Regulation. I hope you all are doing good, students. So in this we will be moving on to your next part of the PowerPoint presentation. That is, first part we did part A and part B. So we will be moving on to your next part here, that is meaning of accountability, to your next topic, that is accountability. I hope the screen and everything is very clear to you. And also reference PPTs will be sent so that in case if it is blur or anything as such, you can refer to your PowerPoint presentation and listen to the explanation. Now let's look into what is accountability. Accountability, we all know what is the general term. Accountable, being accountable, it is responsible, right? You are responsible and you are accountable for something. So looking into the meaning of accountability, accountability is the acknowledgement and assumption. Okay, it is the acknowledgement, you are acknowledging for something, okay, and also it is assumption of responsibility. Now assumption of responsibility for what? Let's look. Okay, a responsibility for actions. First one is actions, second one is product, third one is decisions, fourth one is policies, which also includes administration, governance and implementation within the scope of the role of employment position and encompassing the obligation to report, explain and be answerable for resulting consequences. Now what is the meaning of accountability trying to tell us? Now accountability basically means you are acknowledging and it is the acknowledgement and assumption, right? Acknowledgement and assumption of a responsibility. Now you are responsible for your actions, for your product, for your decisions, for your policies, which also includes your administration, okay, the company's administration, the governance, how you're implementing the accountability, how you're being accountable for various things, okay, implementation within the scope of role of employment within a particular organization, okay, within the scope of the role of employment. Suppose you are an auditor, within your scope only, okay, and encompassing the obligation to report, okay, you are also making sure that you are obligated to report, okay, you are reporting to whatever you are accountable, and also you are explaining why you have prepared this particular thing, how you have implemented the auditing procedure, in what way you're conducting the auditing. Also, in case if there is any mistake that is happening during the time of auditing, you will if whatever consequences is, you will be answerable for that particular resulting consequences. Okay, next look into what are the characteristics of accountability. Now your characteristics of accountability is personal, vertical and neutral. You have three characteristics, that is personal, neutral and vertical and neutral. Now what is this personal? Okay, what is personal? Personal means you have more authority, okay? Basically authority can be delegated only to one person, okay? Personal means authority is delegated only to one person. Next, vertical. What is vertical? Vertical means top to bottom, that is organization structure, that is top to bottom approach, that is top management, mid-level management and low-level management. And the authority and responsibility is delegated by the top management, which contains of supervisors. It is communicated by the top management to the low level management, okay? It is moving in a hierarchical structure, that is top to bottom approach. Next it is horizontal. Next it is neutral, okay? Now neutral is basically, neutral means something which is neither negative nor it is positive, okay, something which is neither negative nor it is positive. Here you can make sure that you have very good results, but also it it may have various failure and various sanctions or withdrawal or modifications in the working system. Why? Because you do not have proper delegation of authority, so it might lead to a lot of failures also, okay? So that is why this is one of the characteristics of accountability, that is personal, one person approach, okay? One particular person is communicating everything. Vertical is the top management is communicating everything to the mid-level management as well as the low-level management. Neutral, everything is going on perfectly, but still it has its own drawbacks, okay? Next you have principles of accountability. What are these principles of accountability? Principles of accountability include responsibility and authority. Now, responsibility and authority is basically you are responsible and you have the authority to make your own decisions, okay, in terms of decision making. Responsibility and authority only in terms of decision making, okay. Provides guidance and support. Now, what is providing guidance and support? You have various information along with you, right? So when you are collecting a lot of information, that particular information will guide you and will also act as a support as to how you need to carry out your auditing, okay. Next, monitored and assessed. Monitored and assessed is nothing but whatever auditing report you have prepared, that will be monitored as well as assessed to see if you have used the entire information correctly, and whatever auditing you've done, if it is perfectly done according to the company standards, if you've considered all the rules and regulations of the government, okay, and how it is taken, how you have included the company's objectives, policies, etc. On basis of that, you will be assessed, okay. Then next is taking appropriate action. Now, in order to take appropriate action, you will have to see how is the excellence, okay, whether it is an excellent report which is prepared, whether there is satisfactory performance, okay, or in case if there is any mistake that has happened, if there is any type of correction which is required, or if you have to, or if you have to bring about any sort of changes, or what are the rules and regulations in case if certain rules and regulations, if the report is not prepared as per certain rules and regulations, how you have to make necessary changes. All of this will be done in taking appropriate actions, okay. Now, in this particular thing, in your PPT, I've just mentioned you the main points, okay. But when you look into your textbook, you will see that you have various sub points under that. So it is very important for you to study the sub points under that. Only then you will know as to how the topic point needs to be explained, okay. Next, perspective. Let's move on to your next topic, that is perspectives of accountability. Now, let's look into what is perspective of accountability. First one is your traditional perspective, okay. Now, traditional perspective is nothing but it is the simplest model with coherent chain from official to official in a bureaucracy. Now, what is a bureaucracy? Bureaucracy means governance, administration in an organization. Okay, basically moving from a top management to low level management to middle level management to low level management. Here it is a traditional perspective wherein the top management will basically keep a check on the middle level management and the low level management. Here it is the most traditional kind of approach, okay. Now, for example, now let's take an example of your college itself. Sister is the main principal, right? So sister will keep a check on the teachers will keep senior teachers will keep a check on sister will keep a check on the HOD will keep a check on the senior teachers will keep a check on the junior teachers. Are you understanding how it's moving in a hierarchy, right? It's moving in a hierarchical structure. So that is why it is a traditional perspective. Okay, here you are following, there is a lot of honesty, okay. There are a lot of principles which are followed in traditional perspective, that is principles such as honesty, integrity, impartiality, okay. There should be no favoritism, okay, and making sure that all rules and regulations are followed, as well as everything is administered as per rules and regulation, and the company's objectives and policies are taken into consideration. So this is your traditional perspective. If you read from your particular textbook, you will be able to understand in a much better way, okay. Now, in your traditional perspective, each person is responsible and accountable for their own hierarchical structure, okay. Basically, you have various departments like finance department, you have your HR department, you have marketing department, production department, etc. So everyone will be in charge of their own actions, as well as the particular person who is the head will also be in charge of it, okay. Next is the democratic perspective. Now, what do you mean by democratic? Democratic basically means wherein you are taking into consideration everyone on a equality basis, wherein you are not discriminating between who is in the top management or middle level management or low level management. You are treating everyone very equally, okay. You are treating everyone equally. You are not discriminating. You are making sure that you are even taking into consideration their opinions and viewpoints, right? So democratic is nothing but it is very closely related to traditional perspective, but here there is only certain kind of changes, okay. Here you are not forcing the decisions on anyone. You're making sure that you are taking everyone's views and opinions. Okay, in terms of democratic, you are also representing but also making sure at the same time that everyone is participating in the decision making. Okay, in the decision making, in the administration, everyone are taking part. So here what happens is it brings about a confidence amongst the employees as well as amongst the general public also, because the company is giving them a lot of importance, because you are taking into consideration their viewpoints and opinions also. So very so democratic is slightly very close to the traditional perspective also. Okay, now next you have your professional perspective. Now what is professional perspective? The term itself states that professionalism, right? So professionalism means that you are very professional in whatever you're doing. You're following your rules and regulations, you're following a very proper hierarchical structure, and also there is a lot of neutrality. You do not have any favoritism. You're making sure everyone is rewarded on the basis of the work they do. Everyone are treated equally. You're providing good working environment for everyone, right? So this professional perspective is based on what Clark said in 1994. Okay, described as a view to the public in 1960 and 1970 that both bureaucracy and professionalism are presented transcend sets of rules and regulations which guarantee the neutrality of state intervention. Okay, basically it means to say that if you want to have a professional perspective, you need to make sure that you are following all the rules and regulations, plus you are maintaining a very professional perspective, which means you are holding a lot of weightage. Okay, there should be a top management wherein there should be certain people who will be responsible for delegating the authority, the way they maintain the company, the way they maintain the organization. Okay, how they are contributing towards the country, how they are contributing towards the state, how they are creating employment opportunities, the way they are contributing to the CSR activities, etc. Okay, this is your professional perspective. Next you have your managerial perspective. Now managerial perspective is basically operates at two levels. Okay, that is the strategic level for the politicians. Okay, now when you're writing all of this, you need to make sure that you have two types of environment, that is your internal environment and your external environment. Your internal environment is something which is related which consists of your employees in the organization and everything within the organization. Your external environment is basically your social, political, technological, legal, environmental, okay, all of the factors which could affect the working of the particular company. So it operates at two level, that is strategic level and operational level. Two levels, that is strategic, then next one is operational level. Now in your strategic level, here it is basically because of the politicians. Okay, politicians, which is a sphere of managers. Now basically, why is it from a managerial perspective? Because you need to manage, you need to make sure that you're managing your company's goals, objectives, you're working as per the changing government, because when the government changes, the rules and regulations changes, the working has to change. Okay, for example, we bought in GST, we bought in CGST and everything, right? So we have to comply ourselves with the norms and rules and regulations of the government also. So that is the managerial perspective, the way you are maintaining your strategies, as well as the way you are carrying out your operations on a day-to-day basis, making sure that you're not letting anything affect the company's working. Okay, you need to balance in such a way. Now next is your governance perspective. Now what is governance perspective? Governance perspective is something related to your working, right? You're something related to your government governance, how the rules and regulations are, right? So according to Rhodes in 1996, it is difficult to define the governance. Okay, you need to know the meaning and definition also. It is difficult to define governance perspective because the term governance has acquired a multitude of different meanings. Okay, basically governance means different things in different aspects. Okay, governance could mean rules and regulations, governance could mean government. Okay, it has different meanings. Okay, but when you're looking into from a perspective wherein it is related to an organization, it basically means working of the organization. Okay, working of the organization, the manner in which they are maintaining their hierarchical structure, the manner in which they are basically carrying out their day-to-day activities, etc. That is your governance perspective. How you're treating your employees, who is there in the top management, who is there in the low level management, middle level management, all of this comes under your governance. That is administration, how you are administering your working of the particular company. Next is your regulatory perspective. Now what is regulatory? Regulatory means regulation that is working. How is your company working? What kind of rules and regulations your company is following? Whether everyone are abiding to the rules and regulations. Okay, now all of this I'm explaining to you in general terms because I want you to just understand the concept, because again you will have to anyway read the explanation from your textbook. Okay, so once you understand the concept, it will become very easy for you to understand the textbook explanation also, because once you read the textbook explanation you might not be able to understand anything, right? So that is the only reason. Now your regulatory perspective, it basically emphasizes the use of authority, rules and regulations and standard settings. Okay, so here it is basically who is the owner of the company, who is the subsidy, who are your shareholders, who are your line managers, who are responsible for production, everything, delegating authority, all of this will come under your regulatory perspective. Okay, who is conducting your auditing, who is in charge of continuously monitoring the auditing, all of this comes under your regulatory perspective. Next one is your rational choice perspective. Rational choice perspective is your rational, okay, something which is rational, which includes your beliefs, your norms, your goals and objectives. Okay, rational basically means, see, you have a lot of people working in the organization. Different people come from different religions, different background, different culture, different caste, creed, religion, gender. Some might be male, some might be female. Okay, so all of this, it is a rational choice perspective. So you have to take into consideration different choices, different culture, and prepare one culture of the organization wherein everyone are treated like a family, everyone's culture is respected, everyone's religion is respected, everyone's gender is respected. There should be fairness and equality. No one should be treated in a very bad way. Everyone should be treated in a fair and effective way. Okay, so that is your rational choice perspective. Okay, you should not you should make sure there is no gender discrimination or anything as such. No, and you need to have a grievance committee in case if any person has any grievance or anything as such, wherein they can come and report to the organization. So this is your types of perspectives and perspectives of accountability. That is traditional perspective, democratic perspective, professional perspective, managerial perspective, governance perspective, regulatory perspective, and rational choice perspective. Now moving on to your next topic, you have principles of effective accountability. Now, in your principles of effective accountability, firstly, you need to know that you need to make sure that there are clear roles and responsibilities. Now, when you're working in an organization, if you're a fresher, okay, now after your college graduation, you're going to go work in an organization. You need to know, right, who is in the top management, who is the CEO of the company, who is the CFO, who is the manager, who is the director. You need to know. So there should be clarity of roles plus clarity of responsibility, and you should also know what are they responsible for. Now, even if you are working in an organization, you need to know what position you're being hired for, what is your role, and what is the responsibility, what is the work that you are responsible to do. So clarity of roles and responsibility is very important. Okay, and the roles and responsibility should also be well understood by the agreed on by the parties. Now, parties basically is the parties that we referred to in your previous slides, that is your auditors, people who are giving the information, as well as people who are using the information. Next, clear performance expectations. Once auditing is done, you need to have clear performance. Okay, performance should be very clear. It should not be vague. Whatever duty is given to you, you have to abide by the rules and regulations and perform your duty well. Then balanced expectations and capacities. Now, what is balanced expectation and capacity is nothing but what are your expectations, what is the organization expecting you, or whether it is basically providing information, storing information, or whatever rules and regulations or whatever responsibilities are given to you. Okay, that is your balanced expectations and capacity. How you are balancing your how you are performing, what are your performance expectations. Okay, how you are balancing this with the capacity. Then what are your skills, your resources that you could use. Okay, how are you removing the gaps between the top management and the middle level management, and how you are providing clarity in the work, and how you are balancing your work. Okay, so this is your balance, expectation and capacity. Next, you have your credible reporting. Credible reporting is basically effectively communicating. Make sure that you are very fluent in your communication in whatever report you're communicating. Also, you are accountable for various things. Then how you're maintaining your relationship. Also, how you're preparing your report, basically whether it is a continuous report that you're preparing, or you're preparing a report for once in 3 months or 6 months, or a yearly report. Okay, you need to have credible reporting. You need to make sure that the way, okay, so that is why credible reporting is very important. Next is reasonable review and adjustment. Now reasonable review and adjustment is, here it is basically a credible review and feedback on the performance. Okay, how you are reporting, how based on all of that you will be given a review, and whatever changes you have to be made, okay, whatever corrective actions you need to take, and how you need to accountable for various relationship without follow-ups is clearly incomplete, right? So you need to continuously follow up with all the rules and regulations. Okay, you need to achieve all the agreed levels. You need to make sure that you're performing well, you're taking corrective actions, and etc. Wherever changes and wherever important changes have to be made, wherever you have to improve, you need to take corrective action and improve yourself. So these are the principles of effective accountability. Now tomorrow, even if you are in charge in a particular organization, these will be the principles that you will also take into consideration when you are accountable, when you are responsible to communicate something to someone, okay, or to do a particular work. So this is your principles of effective accountability. Now in your next video we will move on to your next topic. Okay.